Professor Marc Caball, welcome to the Winter School. We are honored to have you here, and we want to know more about your experience here at the Winter School and about your project in general.
Yeah, well, first off, I should thank the Arab Centre for this wonderful opportunity to come to Qatar and to Doha, which for me has been a great experience. It's a fascinating country, and it's a fascinating city, which is at the crossroads of so many developments. So for me, on a personal basis, it's really been interesting because it's enabled me to get a sense of a fast-moving and a fast-modernising society. The Winter School has exposed me to a whole range of thinking and scholarship on the Middle East and on questions of sectarianism. And I've also met a range of participants from really different backgrounds. So that, for me, again, has been fascinating. And actually, it's over the past 5 days, I think I've had something of a crash course, an education on what's happening in the Middle East, but also on the nature of sectarian divisions, on the nature of religious practice, on social patterns in the Middle East. So from that point of view, I must say it really has been an extraordinary education.
So from your knowledge and experience, do you see a difference between the Arab world and sectarianism in the Arab world and then in other parts in the...
Well, funny you should say that. Before coming here, I wouldn't have known a huge amount about sectarianism in the Arab world. But from my own background and from my own work on Irish history and British history, I've been struck by the similarities. I'm an early modernist, so I look a lot at the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. And this morning's lecture, for instance, by Dr. Matthijssen made it very clear how emerging patterns of sectarianism, both in Europe and in the Middle East at the same time, are remarkably similar. So I'm somebody who's looking at history increasingly from a global context, from a wider perspective. And being here has enabled me to get a sense and to get a grasp in a very practical way. And you know, the conversations that unfold in coffee breaks and after lectures have been really, really stimulating for me, because again, I've learned so much more. So as somebody who works in European history, this exposure to the Middle East has left me yearning for more. I've now developed a huge interest in making connections between religious developments and sectarianism in the early modern period in particular, between Europe and the Arab world.
Yeah. Let me start from here, because you are interested in general in the world history. But do you see similarities between the Northern Ireland, for example, and let's say Lebanon or Arab world in general?
Well, very clearly you see divided societies, and you see how more often than not religion appears to be the cause of division, but when you actually look more deeply into histories and how controversies and how conflicts are generated, but also how they're sustained. Religion isn't always the cause, and it's a much more complex scenario involving questions of power, status, economic control, affluence, and so on. So what may appear to an outsider as simply two sides coming together in a religious clash, when you delve more closely, it's always a much more complex ecology involving questions of power and of status.
So if you want to talk about a project that you are interested in or you are already working on, so could you please elaborate?
Yeah, I'm not working on a project which is directly related to sectarianism, but it is influenced by sectarian divisions. But it's a project looking at two brothers, one who lives in Ireland, who's a Protestant, another brother who goes to India to work for the British in the East India Company. So, the Gulf has always been critical to the British presence in India, to British colonial aspirations in India. And coming here has educated me in respect of the Arab world and the culture and heritage of the Arab world, and how the Arab world is an important point of mediation between Europe and Asia, for instance. So everybody going to India until quite recently would have come in contact with the Arab world physically and intellectually. So for me, it's enabled me to get a much better, being in a place enables you to appreciate much more fully the physical and social, cultural texture. And I'm struck by how Qatar is a country at a crossroads, It's a very affluent country, but yet it's a country that looks back to its own heritage. And I'm intrigued to see how that accommodation between new and old is being achieved here. And for me, as an historian, that's really quite interesting and quite educational.
Yeah, that's amazing. Professor Caball, thank you very much. And thank you for being with us during the winter school.
And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. It's much appreciated.